Hi, my name is Wasifa. Today I'm going to give you a bit of a hybrid lesson. Hybrid meaning a mix of two things. We're going to look at some vocab, but also very important to remember that it's actually a grammar topic that we're looking at here. So it's both grammar and vocab. We're going to be looking at the word other, others, the other, the others, and another, okay? Many students ask me how to use these words because they seem a little bit confusing. They don't know the numbers that go with them, but not to worry, we'll clear all this up today. Before we begin, and to look at each one individually, the most important thing to remember about these words is that they must refer to something already mentioned, whatever the topic is. Refer means point back to. Good. So here are my pretty little students. We're going to look at my students, okay? And we're going to apply all these words to any situation where they can be used, okay? So, for example, I work in a school. I have my class. It's a small class. Other teachers have their classes. So right away, we're talking about me as a teacher, and my class, we're talking about other teachers. So right away, you notice the word other I'm using as an adjective, okay? When I use the word others, we must use it as a noun, but I'll explain that as we go. So these are my students, and I know I'm not the best artist, but I'll do my best. I have 3 students in my class. One student is Japanese, so I'll just say like this for short, okay? I have 2 students left. So I mentioned my first student, so this is now my topic. So all of these words now are going to refer back to that topic, students, okay? So I have 3 students. One student is Japanese. Another student is, let's say, Mexican. I have a very international class. I have a Japanese student. Another student is Mexican. Now, why did I use another? Because I have 2 students left. You don't know which one I'm going to speak about. It's very general, okay? Remember, the difference between the other and another is the same as the difference between the and an. Specific, other, any other. The differences, very important to remember, this is always together, one word. You don't write an other, you don't separate, always together. So, I have 3 students. One student is Japanese. Another student is, let's say, Mexican. I have a very international class. I have a Japanese student. Another student is Mexican. Now, why did I use another? Because I have 2 students left. You don't know which one I'm going to speak about. It's very general, okay? Remember, the difference between the other and another is the same as the difference between the and an. Specific, other, any other. The differences, very important to remember, this is always together, one word. You don't write an other, you don't separate, always together. So, I have 3 students. One student is Japanese. Another student is, let's say, Mexican. I have a very international class. I have a Japanese student. Another student is Mexican. Now, why did I use another? Because I have 2 students left. You don't know which one I'm going to speak about. It's very general, okay? Remember, the difference between the other and another is the same as the difference between the and an. Specific, other, any other. The differences, very important to remember, this is always together, one word. You don't write an other, you don't separate, always together. So, I have 3 students. One student is Japanese. Another student is Mexican. There's only one student left. What am I going to use to refer to this student? Because there's only one, I'm going to use the other. So, one student is Japanese. Another is Mexican, and the other is, let's say, Saudi. Okay, I have students from all over the world. I'm a very happy teacher. Okay, so now I have my 3 students. Now I want to talk about my whole class, okay? My students are very hardworking. Other students, meaning in other classes, okay, they don't work as hard as my students. But that's a good thing, right, for me? So I have my students. There are other students in other classes. The others, now I'm talking specifically about those students. So now I'm talking about the others. The others means the other students. Here, I used the other as an adjective, and I used the others as a noun. Very important to remember the difference. Same thing with other and others. Other, you must always have a noun following it. Other, something. Others is a noun. Some students are very hardworking, others not so much. Some students are very hardworking, other students not so much. Okay? So now you understand basically the difference between the three. I must have a noun following others. Others is a noun. The other can be an adjective or a noun. Let's say I only have 2 students. One student is Japanese, the other is Mexican. It's understood because I told you I only have 2. So if I told you one, you understand the other is automatically the second one of the 2, okay? So I don't need to give you any more information. Now in another class, let's say they have 4 students. There are 2 classes in the school. My class has 2 students, the other class has 4, okay? These students, the problem in this class, they don't like one another, okay? So here I'm using it as a noun as well. I could also use this as an adjective. This student is Chinese, another student is Korean, I could say another student again, or I could say a third student is, let's say, Yemeni. I had a Yemeni student not too long ago. And the last student, now here you notice I'm not using other anymore. When your list becomes too long, you don't want to use other, another, the other, too many. So here I would say the last, because this is the last person I'm speaking about. He or she is from Germany. Okay, good. So everybody clear on what we're going here? Now, for those of you who are going to be taking a test, IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC, etc., these are very, very good and practical words to use on your essay. And understanding how they work will also very much help your reading, okay? So we're going to look now at a few examples of how this is used in writing. Okay, so what we're looking at now is for those of you, again, taking the TOEFL, IELTS, TOEIC, etc., when you're going to write your essay. Now, the most common question on these tests is, which do you prefer? Or which is better? Or things like that. A or B, for example. Okay? So you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to choose A, and you're going to have to say why you chose A. You have reasons X, Y, Z, for example. You could have fewer, you could have more, not important right now. You're going to write your introduction, telling me your opinion, telling me why you think so. You're going to start your body paragraph. You're going to give me the first reason you chose A. A is better because of reason X. Great. You're going to explain why, you're going to give examples, etc. Now you can start your next body paragraph by saying, another reason A is better is, etc. Another reason the big city is better is because there is more cultural life, a better nightlife, you can meet more people, whatever your reason. But this is an excellent transition point, an excellent transition term if you can't think of any other one, okay? Now you're using another because I don't know how many you're going to talk about here. You talk about this one. If you only had 2 reasons, how would you begin this? You would begin by saying, the other reason A is better is, etc. But because you're going to go to 3, and this is only your second, you're using another. Now, not all of you are going to be taking these tests, but at some point you're probably going to have to take some sort of test that involves reading. Very important. When you're reading, and you're seeing the word another or the other or others, right away, what must you understand? That something was already mentioned before. This is at least the second, maybe third or fourth, but definitely not the first time. So if you're taking a test and they're asking you to give the 2 reasons for something, when you see this, you know you have to go back to look for that first reason, okay? So very, very simple. Another when there's more than one available, the other when there's only one available, the others when it's groups, let's say, other with an adjective, other reasons, and others is a noun, means the same thing as other, noun, etc. Good, but 2 more things I want to talk about before we conclude, and also very good transitions, very common expressions. Sometimes students get confused with them. Let's have a look at these. Okay, so here I have a little bonus for you. 2 more expressions that are commonly used, especially good for writing, also for reading. Otherwise and other than, okay? These often confuse students who are learning English. Otherwise basically means if not what was mentioned before, then something will happen. It's the same as an if not, then something will happen clause. So, for example, practice every day. And a little bonus for you, you can use the semicolon here. People love to see the semicolon. If you can use this on an essay, extra bonus points. Semicolon, otherwise you won't improve. What does this mean? This means if you don't practice every day, you will not improve. Very simple. You can put it any way you like. You can even start a sentence with this. Excellent, excellent transition points. Lets you use a semicolon. Bonus. Other than. Other than can mean more than or not including. So, they don't make anything other than cars. Okay, so let's say, for example, Mitsubishi Motors. I think everybody knows Mitsubishi Motors. Mitsubishi makes cars, they make trucks, they make computers, they make printers, they make all kinds of stuff. When I buy a car, I want a company that only makes cars, so I know they're concentrating on the cars. So, for example, Chevy. You don't see any Chevy computers or Chevy guitars or anything like that, only cars and trucks. They don't make anything other than cars means they only make cars. Other than cars, they don't make anything. Not including cars, they don't make anything. Okay? 2 extra words. 2 extra words, good transitions. You'll get a little extra bonus points for knowing the vocab, getting the variety in your essays.